Well, howdy folks, Hal Cricks here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 143. And today we're going to be talking about a kind of an iconic mech, the Zeus. The 80-ton mech that was not bad in the 39 era, 3050 or Succession Wars. It's been around for about 300 years. And it does get the job done for what it was designed to do. You know, it's an assault mech, more of a fire support assault mech. It could get in close into the face, do the job, or it can sit back and fire away. Now, the 80-ton Zeus is a 4.60, does not have jump jets, which is kind of not surprising being it's an assault mech. Has 17 double heat sinks, which is a major improvement. So it went from the 6S, which had 17 before, and they just made them into doubles, which is a massive increase of heat capability and able to handle what comes down the road. The Zeus now, the 9S, has 197 points of armor, which is 11 tons, which is about a half ton short of what it had before, which was 11.5, which had, I think, 184 points of armor, but now it has 197 due to its using ferrofibrous armor, which now has more armor than before, but less tonnage. Basically, they took the half ton and put on case, which is needed because it does have a missile launcher in this thing. Now, the weapons. It has an ER PPC in the left arm, an ER large laser in the left torso, a LRM-15 in the right arm still, which is the same weapons loadout. It does still only have 1 ton of ammo in the right torso, which is a major drawback. And like I said, it has case in the right torso for that 1 ton of ammo, protecting it. And typically after 8 turns, you know, it's like you don't have to worry about anything explosion. It does carry in the center torso a medium pulse laser and a medium pulse laser in the left torso facing the rear. Alright, like I said, this mech is definitely a fire support mech slash it can get in close. It does have those weapon systems where with an ER PPC you don't have to worry about the minimum ranges anymore, so you can get right up into somebody's face and fire it. You can fire the ER large laser in someone's face and not worry about it. Yeah, because before it didn't have to worry about that. But the big thing is that right there's 27 points of heat. And you got 34 you can dissipate with your double heat sink. So this mech doesn't worry about heat problems. You know, considering that even if you fire the LRM-15, which does 5 heat, so you're looking at 32. This thing could run and fire the 3 long-range weapon systems and not heat up. That is one great thing about this. That is a well-balanced... It's kind of like, geez, that was the way it was designed when it did have advanced technology 300-something years ago at the beginning of, just before the beginning of the Succession Wars. Oh, when they had all the Starlink technology. It's like amazing. So it's one of those things where this mech is it's closing in. It can be firing the LRM, it can fire the PPC and the large laser and just keep hammering somebody with those 3 weapon systems. And then when you get in closer and you start looking at the within 6, then you're looking at having those minimum ranges with the LRM. If you don't have a secondary target that you could shoot down range with the LRM, now you can engage them now with the medium pulse laser and even do 1 less heat. So if you're not firing the LRM and you start shooting with the pulse laser, you're still, once again, not worrying about heat problems. Well, that's pretty well designed that way. So a lot of times when I'm using this mech, I like to sit back and kind of use it as the fire support. It's kind of a indirect, direct fire type thing. It can lay down a fire support base, and if you got an assault lance that is, say, stalkers or something of that nature, or some type of mechs where you have a lot of, I guess longbows would be pretty common type of fire support lance, where you have a bunch of LRM boats parked in the rear. A Zeus wouldn't be a bad bodyguard typically for them, because it does have some direct fire capability and it does have the indirect capability. So it can launch for a couple turns or 6 turns with its LRM, or it can use the LRM and direct fire at the same time. And as someone gets in close, they do have the weapon systems to get in close into somebody's face and fire and then kick somebody. You know, typically with all the weapons in the arms like this one does, you're not going to be punching with it, but you're going to at least try to kick. All right, so a 80-ton mech kicking you, you're going to know it when it hits you in the leg. Now, in the assault, this, like I said, this mech can get in there, trying to use any type of cover and concealment it can. Get into, it's going to take a little bit more effort as it's marching down range, looking for targets to shoot. But it does have some good range with it. You know, you're looking at 23, 21, 19 with its, so it does have a kind of a sweet spot. And when you get into at 14 to 11 to 14 range, when you hit the medium range aspect of it, you know, then that's doing fairly good damage. And if you can find some place where you can park yourself into, say, heavy woods or light woods or something of that nature, where you don't have to move as much and you can park yourself and save yourself some modifiers to hit, you could actually be doing some good damage with this thing, because there is a potential of what, 33 points of damage with this at range. That's not bad. If you could hit with all 3 and did max, you know, you're doing pretty good. Now, once you do get in close and you start getting into, like a lot of times with intersphere mechs, usually run into a scrum where they get in kicking, punching, biting type thing. The LRM is going to be looking for something, like I said, farther down range. So it's like if you're hitting somebody up close with your other 2 weapon systems, you're like, okay, who is more than 6, you know, 7, preferably if they were with it at 7 exactly. Oh, great target, secondary target right there. Or you can find somebody that's in the medium range and then as a secondary target. That way you can still use that LRM. But I have found with this one, by the time this mech gets into that condition where it can start kicking, you're probably going to maybe punch with it, because the LRM ammo only has 6 shots, so, or 8 shots, and it's done. So there have been quite a few times where you're sitting there going, oh, okay, yeah, that's carrying around some extra tonnage that has no ammo for it. So that is the biggest drawback for this mech. Now, the variants. There was obviously the 6S was the original, and then there's been some where they've converted it to, like they call it the 6T, which is one that replaces the PPC. I'll bring it up here. The 6T. Alright, so we have the standard PPC, we got the large laser, the LRM-15, and the 2 medium lasers. And basically they've still not much changed on it, and 19 heat sinks. So that is really the only thing that's different on this thing. It just has a few more heat sinks. Now, later down the road in '62, just before the Civil War, we have the 9T. The 9T is a little bit different. It has, let's see here. They replaced it. They put a light fusion engine on it. They added an extra ER medium laser, and gave it Artemis and extra ammo, and even increased the overall armor levels with the fusion engine. So by using a light fusion engine, they are able to okay, we got an ER PPC, they got the ER large laser, we got an LRM-15 with 2 tons of ammo, an Artemis, and they still got the 2 medium pulse lasers and an ER medium laser. So basically with the light fusion engine, everything's the same except they got an extra medium laser, Artemis, and a ton of ammo, and almost maxed out the armor. So that's the big difference between the two of them. Now, the only kind of sort of weakness with this one is the light fusion engines. So instead of having 3 with an XL engine, now you got 2 slots of critical potential for taking 2 engine hits. So a torso being taken out is bad, but it's not going to kill the mech. So you're now running into kind of the same thing as the clans, where they lose a torso, they lose 2 engine shots or slots, and then they're still capable of continuing on. Unlike the standard Intersphere XL engine, which has 3, so if you lose a torso, the mech is done. It's dead. And then we have in 3070, word of Blake, all hail Clan Wolverine. They took over during the war, they took over the facility, and basically they created the Zeus 10WB word of Blake, which is now sporting a couple heavy PPCs in the arms, and 4 ER medium lasers, an ER large laser, light gyro, and 14 tons. So basically they maxed out the armor, and still has the 17 double heat sinks. So it's one of those mechs where you're looking at, if you're the heavy PPC does 15, so it's not a bad deal with that one. If you have the 2 PPCs, heavy PPCs, obviously you're going to fire those. You can't fire the 2 heavy PPCs in the ER large. It's just not possible to do it, because if you fire those together, you're going to be really hot, because you're looking at 42 heat. Yeah, it's like you're going up 8. So no, it's basically one of those mechs where you got to fire the 2 PPCs, and then if you get in closer, then you're going with the other weapon system. So you're gonna drop a PPC in favor large laser and an ER medium lasers. So that's basically, so you got close weapons and you got long range weapon systems. So that's basically, it's balanced, but you just can't fire everything at once. If you did, you're gonna shut that mech down almost immediately due to all the heat that you just piled into it. So, but you'll get people that will do it. I've seen it done before, where they'd try to cook it as like do an alpha strike and basically miss with half the weapons and then shut down and then die. Now, let's say you do have a Zeus, you have the 6S, which is your standard fare. A lot of those are running around. you happen to have one in your unit and you want to change it, there's just a few minor tweaks that you can do to it. All right, so when it comes to modification, and the basic modifications I like to do are pretty forward and simple. First thing, obviously, you want to do is put on ferrofibrous armor. That's a must, you know, because the 3050 version did it. You know, we're talking the 9S put ferrofibrous on it. So go ahead and do that. And you're going to, obviously, if you have access to an ERPPC, go with ERPPC, just like it. Go with an ER large laser if you have access to that. Now, the one thing I do is I will keep those two medium lasers as medium lasers. I don't want to keep them, you know, upgrade them to medium pulse lasers, for the reason I want to take that tonnage and throw it and make it useful someplace else. You know, the first thing I usually do is, which is one of the weakness of the Zeus, is that, you know, you get those 8 shots with the LRM-15. I'm going to put another ton of ammo on. That's the first thing I'm doing. And obviously you're going to throw on case. If you able to read configure the mech, you know, you got the time to do it, put it in the gantry. Is now you're going to have 2 tons of ammo in that launcher, put case in that torso, and you're able to upgrade the armor. So you're going to keep the 17 heat sinks, you got the ferrofibrous armor, and then you are basically running up to 12 instead of the 6S has 11.5. Now you're going up to 12. So now you're going to have 215 points of armor. You know, it's not the max. You know, you're still short almost 2 tons. It's kind of hard to get that unless you turn around and downgrade one of the weapon systems. And your choice is you can downgrade the PPC to 2 ER large lasers on there, and then take those 2 tons and throw it into armor, or you can downgrade the LRM-15 down to an LRM-10, maybe put on Artemis, and then toss in. Then you might just consider 1 ton of ammo, and then, you know, there's some options there depending on how you want to do it. But it all means that you're decreasing the amount of firepower this mech can put out to gain your extra 2 tons of armor on this thing. So that is something you can think about. The other thing is that you could look at downgrading 1 heat sink down to 16. It gain you an extra ton there, because obviously the mech does do 32. So if you really feel like you can want to shut off a weapon system and play with the heat just a little bit, you can gain a ton there. But I prefer to run my mechs cool, not have to worry about it. And this one is designed to be a pretty cool mech. So that is pretty much your options with this thing, short of completely reconfiguring the system. Now, if you look kind of in the future, when you're looking at that, if you don't want to have the LRM-15 on board, and you could, you know, obviously downgrade that thing into like an energy weapon, like another ER large laser, and then turn around and add more like another medium laser or something. Oh, one thing I did forgot to mention is that I've never been a fan of having weapon systems shooting to the rear. So one thing I would probably do is just turn that thing around, open the port to the front. So now you got at least 2 medium lasers shooting forward. You know, because you know, if something is close and you don't want to use that LRM because you don't have a target that is farther out, throw in the medium lasers instead. You're going to get a little more heat out of it, but that's 1 point extra. Or if you're only walking, that's a non-issue really. So I would have 2 medium lasers for facing forward. So that's pretty much it when it comes to this mech. Like and subscribe, share with all your friends. Put down below if you have any experiences or changes you would like to see or you would do with this mech, and some maybe cool stories or anything of that nature. And we will talk with you later. Hellcrack's out.